couple of years ago, we were on vacation, and we'd been driving that day a long way, and we got in bed, and a few seconds later, I turned the light out. She sat straight up in bed, turned the light back on. She said, "You didn't look at me." I said, "Sweetheart, I did too." She said, "No, you didn't." I said, "I promise you I looked at you." "Okay, how do I look? How did I look?" I said, "You're beautiful. You're absolutely gorgeous. Your eyes are just sparkling. You're sexy." She said, "You did look." Now, she wants me to be a good listener. Fellas, that's what your wife wants just about most of all. To be sensitive, compassionate, ambitious, considerate, generous, affectionate, gentle, patient. Wants me to have good manners, to be sober, and to be wise. So you know what I do? I put that on my 3x5 card, and I regularly look at it, and I ask myself, did I do it today? See, it's a reminder, folks. We don't need to be told, but we do need to be reminded. How do you get to accomplish those things? Bottom line is, my wife and I are more in love today than we've ever been. As I tell folks, if that woman ever leaves me, I guarantee you I'm going with her. There you be no question about that. Well, the question comes up then. Ziegler, you talk a whole lot about psychological, theological, and physiological. You've talked about the things that everybody wants. You want to be happy and healthy and reasonably prosperous and secure, and have friends, peace of mind, and good family relationships. What does the Bible say about those things? Let me tell you what I've done. I've adapted the Bible in scriptural self-talk. Now, because I'm not a theologian, after I did this, I sent it to two of the most respected Bible scholars I know. And I said, tell me if I'm right on. If there's any question at all about it, then I want you to tell me, because I do not want to make an error. I just don't believe you fool and alter God's Word. But at the same time, I believe so many times we eliminate many things because we don't clearly understand what God has to say. I've taken on occasion several verses, and this is the part I wanted the theological validation on, and ask him if this is manipulating the Bible or is if it's simply getting from the Bible what the Bible promises. One of them sent me back the word. He said, "This is now the first page of my book of devotions." So I assume by that he's saying it's okay. In the Psalms, 84th chapter, the 5th verse, here's what it says. "I am happy because I am strong in the Lord, and want above all else to follow His steps." Proverbs, the 3rd chapter, 5, 7, and 8. "I trust and reverence the Lord, and turn my back on evil. So He directs me, gives me success, and gives me renewed health and vitality." Proverbs 3, 16 through 22. "My God-given wisdom gives me a long, good life, riches, honor, pleasure, peace, and living energy." Psalm 63, 7 and 8. "I am secure beneath the protecting shadow of God's wings and His strong right arm." 1 Corinthians 2:16, Galatians 5:22, Matthew 7:12. "As a child of God, with the mind of Christ, the fruit of the Holy Spirit, and a follower of the Golden Rule, I have an eternal friend and a host of earthly friends and marvelous family relationships." Isaiah 26:3. "I trust you, Lord, and my thoughts often turn to you, so I am in perfect peace." I can't begin to tell you, folks, as I indicated earlier, I lost my oldest daughter on May 13th of this year. Toughest thing any father or parent or mother has ever called on. Though the grief is intense, the tears are many. They're bearable simply because we have that peace that passes all understanding. We know where she is, and I equally well know that we will see her again. Psalms 24:14. "I enjoy becoming wise, so there is hope for me, and a bright future lies ahead for me." Again, as I have said earlier, failure is an event. It is not a person. I believe with all my heart at this moment, you have the keys to a much greater and brighter future. I believe with all my heart that if you will claim and develop these qualities and develop the specific skills your job or profession demands, that I really will see you. And yes, I really do mean you. Not just at the top. Hey, I'm going to see you over the top. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Since this is your 5th recording that you've been listening to, by now you probably are more alert to a lot of things around you. But let me just kind of give our live audience a little test here to make certain that you are with us. Let me ask you a question. How many of you wear a wristwatch? Can I see your hands, okay? How many of you have had that wristwatch at least a year? Can I see your hands? Now, please don't look at the watch, but the average person looks at their watch about 100 times a day. Now, that counts the last 10 minutes before lunch and the last 10 minutes before they get off, but it's about 100 times a day. Now, that means if you've had it a year, you've looked at that watch a whole lot of times. You ought to know what's on it. How many of you in the live audience would agree you should know what's on your watch, okay? Now, don't answer these questions out loud, but you, as you listen to this tape, don't look at your watch. I want you to answer the questions to yourself. First of all, what kind of watch do you have? Second, does that wristwatch you're wearing have Roman numerals or regular numerals? Or does it have numerals at all? Are there blanks or slashes or digits or whatever? And the last question that I would ask about your watch really comes into 3 parts. What is straight up and down at the 12 o'clock slot? What's at the 3 o'clock slot? Get a picture in your mind. What's at the 6 o'clock slot, and what's at the 9 o'clock slot? Now I want you to carefully think that through in your own mind. And now that you have carefully thought it through, I want you, maybe for the first time since you've owned the watch, I want you to very carefully look at your watch. Now, based on the gentle murmur running through the crowd, am I right to assume that some of you missed at least one of the questions? Can I see your hands, please? Well, that seemed to be about most of you. Now, a few seconds ago when I said, now I want you to look at your watch. As a matter of fact, maybe for the first time, I want you to very carefully look at your watch. You remember me saying that just a few seconds ago? Okay, what time is it? Now, the reality is, you see, we don't really look. We don't really listen. We don't really hear. And that's the reason you will hear some things that really will bear repeating over and over. And why we keep saying, listen to these recordings over and over. Now we're going to talk about relationships, because relationships have a direct bearing on your motivation in life and your attitude in life. How important are they? I love the story of the little guy that interrupted his dad, who was very busy at home working, and he tried to get his attention, and his dad kind of resisted, and finally the little boy said, Daddy said, who do you like best, Batman or Superman? And the dad said, I don't know, son. He said, oh, come on, Daddy, you like one of them best. Which one do you like the best? He said, okay. He said, I like Superman the best. And then the little boy said, okay, and he looked at his dad and said, aren't you going to ask who I like best, Dad, isn't it? And the dad said, well, all right, who do you like best? He said, I like Batman. And his dad said, well, why do you like Batman? And he said, well, Batman has got a friend. Isn't it true that's what all of us really want? Aren't our relationships so enormously important? And yet, a lot of times, over a period of time, we seem to move them to the back burner. They're not in our own minds. They're something that can wait in the process of nurturing and developing. But we get wrong information from time to time. When I was a young speaker, I heard a well-known speaker, philosopher, say that you are where you are in life because that's really where you want to be. You know, I've always liked to sound philosophical, so I started telling people you're where you are because that's where you want to be. But one night I was in Birmingham, Alabama, on my way to Meridian, Mississippi. The roads were under repair. I stopped and asked a service station attendant there, how do you get from here to there? Very kind young man, and not only told me how to get there, but drew me a little map. He said, you follow this map and it'll take you right on into Meridian. It was very important that I be there because I had an engagement the next morning. Well, an hour later, I saw another sign, and it revealed that in that 1 hour, I was now 45 miles further from Meridian than I had been when I asked for the directions. Now, I can absolutely assure you that I was not there because that's where I wanted to be. I wanted to be closer to Meridian. I was there because a well-intentioned individual had given me wrong directions. I would suggest that if you're broke and in debt and are not getting along well with the people who are important to you, that you're not where you want to be. You could be there because over a period of time, you have followed some wrong direction. Now, the question is, that a lot of people ask about now, is do I really have what it takes to be successful in what I want to do? Do I have the qualities necessary? Well, let me emphasize a point. I want to use a little analogy to get you to thinking along these lines. Let's say that you had it made financially. You socked away quite a bit of money, so you wanted to build the dream house. You went to the architect, said, I want you to design me the most beautiful plans you can possibly do. And he was a world-renowned architect, and he put the plans together. They were absolutely magnificent. And then the man took the architect, they went to the best builder in town, had the best reputation, and they said to him, we want you to follow the architect's plans exactly. Use the best materials, use the best laborers, get the best carpenters, brick masons, laborers, electricians, plumbers, the very best materials, all of it. And finally, the house was complete. They moved in, had the big party, the landscaping was absolutely gorgeous. They just knew they were going to have a long, happy life.